all these cybersecurity issues, it's really important to take into account this domain blocking for the Internet of Things.
So it seems that dynamic blocking is key.
I have seen some technology that have identified illegal streaming just in seconds.
You're listening to IoT and IP Explained with Claudia Tapia, where experts discuss the latest in technology and intellectual property.
Today, we're talking about domain blocking, what it is, why it matters for the IoT, and the different ways to fight online infringement. We will also explore how Latin America and other jurisdictions are approaching this issue. To give us the full picture, I've invited José Roberto Herrera Diaz, who brings extensive experience on the topic. Welcome, José.
Thank you, Claudia, for this nice invitation. It's a pleasure to be here.
Let's start, if you don't mind, with the really basics, because I'm not sure if everybody in the audience understands what is domain blocking.
The easier way in which we can explain domain blockings are like all the blockings that are against infringer content. This infringer content can be in IP rights, publicity rights, privacy rights, child pornography, illegal betting, many infringer content you can find on the internet. And the main one is the classic one that has been used many years ago, that is blocking IP addresses, such as, for example, if you talk about movies, you have heard before websites such as Pirate Bay, Cuevana, or Roja Directa, this famous website for illegal streaming of football or sport matches. The classical way of domain blocking can be blocking against the IP address, such as www.cuevana.com. You can block this domain. And this domain has to be in each country. It is difficult to block a content in all the world because it also depends on internet service providers and many other details, but this is like the main idea behind domain blocking.
Mm-hmm. You were mentioning IP rights. How does domain blocking interact with IP rights?
You know better than me that the classical IP rights are copyrights, trademarks, and patents. Of course, there are patents that are infringed through the internet, but mostly, like the domain blockings that usually are conducted are the ones that are against IP rights, copyrights, and trademarks. So, for example, in copyrights, as I was mentioning, Cuevana, for movies and series, that many of the movies and series that are streaming this illegal website can be blocked if, for example, the copyright owners request a blocking through an ISP can be conducted, but also, for example, in trademarks. Here in Colombia, we help the Colombian Football Federation for infringements. Usually here is common that the shirt of the national football team is legally sold by copies or pirated goods. So usually with e-commerce platforms such as Mercado Libre, Amazon, we request these platforms to delete or to block the illegal content or many offers that are offered in that platform. So that's a way in which we can also combat trademark infringement through these platforms. Of course, patents, as you have many experience in this field, can be infringing the internet, but mostly the ones that in my case I have worked in is in this kind of trademark infringement and copyright infringement.
You have shared some examples, and I'm thinking, how do these infringements happen? What are the different ways of stopping them?
Yeah, that's really important to clarify a little bit more on this, because for copyright, usually, as you know, we have the copyrights of the authors, the creators, but we have also the related rights. Not only these type of infringements are on of course, of the creators, the authors, but also on many musical producers, audiovisual producers. And the case law on this usually is started by producers that are the ones that have usually the rights that file actions before courts to request the ISPs to block the infringement content. But also, you can, as a copyright owner, go directly to the ISP to request the ISP, hey, this is infringing my content. They don't have authorization to do this. There is no like a copyright exception to do this, and they request the ISP to block the content. Also, for example, with search engines such as Google, we can go directly to search engines to tell them, hey, you have to delete all these results because all these results, when I search for something, these links are also infringer links. So this is another way in which it works. But also there are many. The first one is the most important, but there is another one like it was born with the Digital Millennium Copyright Act in the US, the DMCA, in which the notice and takedown system procedure was invented when internet started in the 90s with all these WIPO copyright treaties. There is a procedure that was born after this called the notice and takedown procedure, in which I go directly to the platform such as YouTube and tell them this is infringing a copyright or a trademark, or even talking about other intangibles such as privacy or publicity rights. You can also request these platforms to block this content directly without going to a judge.
Wow. So it seems there's a lot of infringement out there, but it's good that we have ways to stop it. In the context of the Internet of Things, why is domain blocking so important?
The importance of domain blocking with the Internet of Things is that when the content is not blocked, not only you affect or infringe the right of many copyright, trademark owners, patent owners, but also you can be victim of many conducts such as phishing, many viruses that you can get when you enter to an infringer site. When people get into these websites such as Cuevana or these other infringer websites, they receive many advertisement that is not requested. So for the Internet of Things, it's also really bad to have also this advertisement that you are not requesting. And this is just a reason, but many other ones that are worse, such as the phishing that right now is more popular, and all these cybersecurity issues. It's really important to take into account this domain blocking for the Internet of Things.
Indeed, this is truly, truly important. But how effective are we in domain blocking worldwide?
Yeah, I think that worldwide we can underline like the work of US, Europe, Latin America, and Asia. But the leader, in my opinion, will be Europe. The most relevant countries are Spain, Germany, and Netherlands, in which if you see the case law of these three countries, since long ago, you can see court orders, domain blockings through dynamic or static domain blockings request. By dynamic request, I mean, for example, when the judge ordered the blocking of Cuevana, if the infringer the next day or the next hour opens Cuevana 2, through these orders of dynamic blocking, despite the fact that the blocking was from Cuevana, the dynamic blocking allows that if there is a domain with these same words, the dynamic blocking can block the other derivations. Because everything started with static blocking, but then the pirates, the infringers, started to get many other derivations. So that's why it's important to have all these other alternatives. In general, in Europe, you can find this case law. In US, you also can find many examples of domain blockings, but not that developed as in Europe, in my opinion, from the case law that I have studied.
So it seems that dynamic blocking is key. And you have extensive experience. You and I met in Munich when you were doing the master program in Max Planck Institute with the collaboration of the universities, this MIPLC program. I know they prepare you very, very well for IP and competition issues worldwide, but you are more active in Latin America. Can you tell us how has this domain blocking evolved in Latin America?
My experience in litigation have been here in Colombia because I am a licensed attorney here. We have had some case law, civil and criminal. I have not represented criminal, but my law firm has represented some criminal through, like, we help in the substantive IP work, but there is a procedural criminal attorney on this. But in civils, I have represented in some cases in which we can obtain precautionary measures to get into a domain blocking. Also, with the help of some internet service providers, we have blocked many infringer content. But the issue here that is really common in all the world, in Europe, the internet service providers have help in this. But here's only few internet service providers have help with the blocking when you go directly to them and tell them, hey, this is this website. I'm talking about, again, about the example of Cuevana. Please block Cuevana because it's infringing the copyrighted content of many copyright owners. And they say, no, I cannot stop this content because there is a principle called the net neutrality principle in which we cannot do anything with the content that is shared through the users of the internet. But the law already have established many other ways in which the neutrality principle have some exceptions when there is not only in child pornography or illegal betting that it's of course more important to block, but also in the IP there are already rulings saying that in IP blocking the neutrality principle is not applicable, and the ISPs are liable when they receive clear evidence that there is an infringement and they don't do anything. So there are already some case law also against ISPs because they are not blocking content. In Latin America, we can also see other good experiences in Peru, in Uruguay, in Mexico, in which other illegal websites such as Roja Directa have been ordered to block, and with also dynamic blockings. So this is the way we are handling in Latin America. I think that we are in a good way, but the leader, in my opinion, still be like in this field, Europe.
So they should learn from Europe in this interpretation of net neutrality and then get more active into responding to those.
Mm-hmm. It's an advantage that most Latin American countries, the majority, of course, there are some exceptions, some islands, but the majority are continental law systems and not common law. That is also really relevant in all the. We usually copy many things in IP practice.
And back to the IoT, how does domain blocking protect IoT devices?
These domain blockings, when you, for example, order the blocking, an ISP, I am going to explain it also with an example. I have Movistar, the internet service provider, with my phone. So the Cuevana website has been blocked by Movistar, but in order to have a 100% blocking, you in Colombia, all the ISPs applicable in Colombia should block this website, and that's a problem. And in order to the domain blocking to work for the internet things, we have to have the help of all these internet service providers to block all this illegal content, because sometimes it's just, if you don't have the majority at least of the internet service providers, it will not work for the Internet of Things to have only a blocking of one internet service provider. This is one important issue to have into account for the Internet of Things. Another issue is, of course, when you do the blocking, the user cannot access many things in that it will be easier for the user to get viruses, phishing, all these kind of illegal things that will come after just seeing an illegal movie. So that's really important to have the blocking in all your devices to prevent other future infringements.
That's good to know. We'll all do that. Can domain blocking completely stop online infringement?
Well, that's a good question. I think that the answer is we have to tell the truth in this, and the truth is no. The ideal scenario will be that there will be not online infringement. Domain blocking is enough, but of course it's not enough. I think that, as in all the things in life, there will be always bad guys and good guys, and and the technology will always have a way to have infringement. But it's important also to know that the technology also have good ways to prevent infringement, and not only filing actions, the way that you can combat those infringements.
What are businesses doing to protect themselves for domain-related threats?
Yeah, that's a really good question right now, talking about a bit of AI, because right now, specifically in live sports, I have seen some technology that have identified illegal streaming just in seconds. Because, for example, in that you are from Spain, I think that La Liga and the Premier League are the most important in terms of quality and also money in terms of the production. But right now, what they are using in many cases is there is an illegal streaming in a social network or many other ways. The pirates will always be sometimes above the law in terms of technology that they, in the history of human being, it has been so easy to infringe, to get into a new technology. But also, fortunately, with the help of technology, it has been also a counterattack. And there is a new tool that I have seen in live sports in which they identified in seconds an illegal streaming, and they can report this to the same platform, or the platform automatically blocks this illegal content. So that's good news also, despite all the infringement with the technology, that it's also good news in the current trends of blocking, not going to, of course, to a judge, or it's really automatized in some cases right now.
That makes it easier then. It's good news.
Yeah.
Looking forward, what trends do you see in domain blocking for IoT and IP protection?
From the previous AI tools to detect illegal streaming, also another important tool talking about the publicity and privacy rights. It's really common right now that, for example, they take your face right now and they do anything that they put you talking in Mandarin, French, or other languages. It is really common, but also these tools talking about for the Internet of Things, and in general, not only IP, but for what I do usually is IP and entertainment. That in entertainment we work a lot with publicity and privacy rights. There are also tools right now in which the faces also can be recognized in every stream. Yeah. So, for example, when somebody's going to football teams, the cameras identify the faces, and right now you can find the person that are not behaving as expected. And also they are using also this technology for privacy and publicity infringement, and it's working really good, instead of course, filing an action that is usually more faster than an IP case, because usually the privacy rights are constitutional, and sometimes you can receive quicker judgments. The technology also have helped in this field to stop online infringement against the privacy rights, and sometimes publicity when the face is used or the image of the person to commercialize something.
So it seems we can end with this positive note. But before you leave, I'd like to ask you whether you could share a lesson learned.
When I was in high school, I was going out with my friends, and in the street they were selling DVDs or CDs with pirated movies and music. At that stage, I swear that I didn't know that this was a copyright infringement. Here, not for the user, but for the person that is selling this. It's even a crime here in Colombia and many other countries. But the lesson learned after I started working IP and seeing the importance of IP, I'm playing in a band, a guitar. I have some songs, but the idea behind the IP is the one that is really nice when somebody tells in a conference about this, because sometimes I think that there is already people that they doesn't know that this is an infringement. This is the lesson learned in my case, that after working in this, I know how important it is for creators this, and to have people that work in this. I would like to share other lesson, that it's the easier you explain these concepts to people, to creators, the easiest that you can find solutions against counterfeiting or piracy. So because in the past I was also having some conference in which I was talking like a lawyer and in difficult words sometimes. And right now it's I understand that for this you have to have another way of communicating. So I think that those will be like the two lessons learned. And thank you again for the invitation, Claudia. It's really nice to in your program.
Thank you. This has been a lot of fun, and I learned a lot about the topic. I'm sure the audience too. And I would like to thank you for joining this podcast and also the audience for being with us. I look forward to your comments. You can find me, as always, in LinkedIn under Dr. Claudia Tapia. Jose, I have an idea, which is that we are going to leave our audience with a piece of your song.
Well, if you want to check in Spotify or in any social platform for music, you can search the Howling Lemurs. But I'm gonna put the one song here, so hope you like it.
Okay.
Si te quieres enredar